To talk to Jasmine Zhang from A&T Capital today. And we want to talk a little bit about the state of crypto venture investing. So you all know that there was a big hype and big bubble in 2021, maybe even 2022, and things kind of went sideways, or the market crashed last year. The good thing is that happened a couple times before. But obviously that also affects how people are investing in crypto startups, how venture capitalists are allocating their money. And I think we have the perfect guest to learn more about the state of this market today. So Jasmine, maybe you can give us a quick background about A&T Capital. I know you guys launched in, I think, Q1 of 2021.
Exactly, in April 2021.
So kind of the peak of the hype of the bull market. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about, first about, okay, what is A&T Capital, but also like how has this market changed over the past 2 years almost, and how has this kind of changed your type of investing? Are you investing more? Are you investing less? Yeah, what's going on in the market?
Okay. Yeah, thank you for having me here, and also bear with me in English. But I thought it's also good to change the bit, being more international. So basically, we started actually the fund 2021, in April, but we started fundraising actually half a year before. So that was actually kind of also a bear market ish. But we were very lucky because we got a very strong anchor investor from one of the biggest fintech group actually from Asia. So probably people actually Finance Forward also wrote an article about us. Who are the one actually behind us. But in general, I think we are very lucky in terms of the timing of the fundraising. And at the time, I think was still very booming, and also we were just finished raising, so we wanted to also really do a few really big investments in terms of the infrastructure kind of directions, because I think at the time still there were, even now, I think still a lacking of robustness in terms of infrastructure. So we did actually mostly in terms of layer ones, layer twos, in terms of a ZK, and also a bridge kind of investments. And then at the moment, we are also more selective, just because market crash. Also, we went through the stages with Luna crash, with FTX, with signature banks, all of these kind of changes. So I think in general, venture capital become more selective and also more sensitive in terms of the valuations.
Yeah, and I think the process that you're describing is also a healthy one, because I think in 2021 you could raise with a pitch deck, and if you could write metaverse and NFTs and maybe even AI on there, you would probably raise some money. So that's probably not a healthy state of the market. I want to circle back to something you said, because in the past years, if you follow the news, the media, I think the biggest bets that most VCs did in the crypto space were actually on the infrastructure side. So, people investing in new layer ones like Solana, Avalanche, and a few others, or even in the underlying protocols like the Graph and some messaging protocols, and a lot of these things. And I think rightfully so. I think a lot of these investments were super successful, and this infrastructure is actually needed to actually scale the space. So recently when I talked to a lot of investors, I think the sentiment has changed a little bit. So a lot of investors are now telling me, you know what, we're actually investing in applications now. Because we need to prove the world that there's actually use cases for crypto. And I think in a past talk, Float also discussed this, what are the use cases for crypto? And so I think it's interesting that some investors are sort of shifting now and saying, okay, we need to invest in applications. We need to show that there's actually usage. And the infrastructure will follow. If we have 1 billion users, I'm sure someone will find some time to build a great infrastructure. So how do you see this? Do you also see this trend, or are you still focusing on infrastructure a lot?
I think there are 2 points. It's really important to be addressed. First of all, I mean, VC by structure is actually a company. It's the primary purpose of it is to maximize our LPs capital. So, in terms of investment, you can also see from top 50 tokens, right? Most of them actually infrastructure tokens. If you invest in infras, the possibility of growth is that high. If you invest in real world use cases, applications, NFT or metaverse tokens, the ceiling is just that high. So you have to choose and also bet on the ones that is just having like more possibilities to grow. This is first of all. And secondly, from like a more practical like point of view, it is needed to have like a more robust like infrastructures. But also on the other hand, it's much more difficult to launch an infra than a use case or like meme coins on all of these. So, and then the talents are just like limited. Not everyone can launch a ZK, not everyone can launch a layer 1. So it's just like limited people and also resources to really put into infras. So of course, people and VCs, they started to look into real world like a use case because they are limited. Like there doesn't have so many people, so many projects are still doing that. So I think this is like two reasons people like often like overlooked. But yeah.
Yeah. And I think I want to deep dive a little bit into like the areas that you're investing in the infrastructure side. But first, before we go there, I want to talk to you about the regional change, because I also have the feeling, and you just mentioned you have a big anchor investor out of Asia. When I talk to some of the Asian funds, I see them investing more into like crypto gaming, into still NFT, a lot of NFT projects, like metaverse type of companies. Whereas if I look back at like the past 12 months, if anyone showed up with like a pitch deck, a metaverse pitch deck, like we turned it down pretty quickly. So I think in Europe it's very tough to push these type of projects at the moment. Where do you see this coming from? Is it just like a different consumer market that people are building for? Or is it different like risk appetite that investors have in Asia versus Europe? How do you see this?
So I think in general, like the mentality are different. I think in general, Asian are just more speculative. I mean, not necessarily a very negative way, but like we're just more like to gamble. I mean, like Chinese or like Koreans is like famous for that. So I think naturally you see at the moment is also like MSI in London for like League of Legends. How many Asians are really there for cheering up like on set? It's just like crazy. And also with Tencent, it's like one of the biggest gaming like distributor and Wang Yi, all of these big Chinese companies. So it has the natural like market push to having like a gaming and also metaverse like mentality. And also with Axie Infinity, which is like, you know, kind of like an initiator for the gaming, like a booming like in crypto. It's also in Asia, right? It's like in Southeast Asia. So most people find like, oh, you know, we can follow similar kind of like business models and we can do like a kind of like a similar stuff, and maybe we can also just build on different chains. Maybe we can also like just build stuff. And I think another reason is also like Asian funds in general also very agile and flexible. So like when they see the trend of like NFT and also GameFi, they started to really hire more people having expertise in GameFi, and then they started to build and also incubate kind of like such things. So they're just like more. I think like they're just more like a wide range. In terms of like looking for investments. I think compared with European ones, they are most time very, first of all, conservative, and also secondly, they are very focused in like a few like areas. So I guess it's like a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the famous Krypto-VC Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, they have this idea of this product innovation cycle. I'm sure you've heard of it. In crypto markets, the way it works is usually there's some initial spark, then prices go up, and then a lot of people are kind of interested in the space. You know, they want to have quick money, they want to build the next billion-dollar company or something, and then kind of the market goes sideways or goes down, and sort of this hype kind of dies off. But the developers stay there, and then the actual innovation takes place in this sort of bear market. We're now, I think it's fair to say that we're in a bear market, probably for like a year already. So I'll be curious to learn what are the areas that you're most interested in. So where do you see the innovation happening right now? Where do you do your bets at the moment?
So I think so first of all, I'm also like just started to invest actually quite late. I was like, I think I'm just in general very lucky. The time like I entered space, I have been actually partnered with funds. So I started in 2018, like late 2018, and then with the limited time of my investment like period, I think like what I've been like looking into at the moment is always like the kind of projects that is closest to the money capital side is also mostly like profitable. So wallets, exchanges, such things, right? So with the collapse of like FTX, most people are thinking, oh, where am I going to trade again? So I mean, like Binance, of course, but also it's kind of like Asian background, like OKX, Huobi, all of these kind of like big with like a deeper trading volumes kind of exchanges, having some kind of like political, how to say, like bias or like something. So like people wanted to find like new platforms to trade and so on. So I think a kind of like a new exchange which is like more robust kind of a custody.
Maybe just asking, following up on this one. So do you, when you say exchange, is it more like this like centralized exchange, what we've seen in the past, like, you know, Kraken, Coinbase, or like even FTX in the past? Or is it more like, you know, some sort of decentralized exchange because you see the shift, people are going actually into self-custody?
I think even 2 years ago, people were still like discussing whether like a centralized exchange is going to just go away completely or something. And until now, we see there are still people, you know, choosing centralized exchange over decentralized exchange. I think as more people come into the space, of course, they will always like want to, just from user experience, they want to go with like a centralized exchange at first. Later on, they may pivot to like a decentralized exchange. So I think there will be still time, like, you know, both kind of like a structure still like coexist. And at the moment, I think there, I see like more and more exchanges want to do like just hybrid kind of way. So they want to put it like maybe like a smart contract with custody, and then like you still have doing the matching like engine, like still like off-chain to make it like faster and also like deeper like trading volumes. So I think like such kind of like exchanges would be something really needed and also like in demand. Because I think a lot of applications, for example, like in crypto space, is good to have, it's nice to have, but it's not something like you use it every day. You use every day maybe exchanges, use every day for like a wallet, but not everything else. That's why a lot of applications, it's very hard to really push it into like an impractical world. So I think such things would be actually really, really important, and also perpetual exchanges. Coinbase and Kraken, they're good. It's also like regulated, but not really fulfill like more, or maybe like most retail investors whose mentality is want to like make money, make profit. They have to do with like a high leverage, like perpetual exchanges to achieve that. So I guess like, you know, with like maybe like, you know, a limited like level of KYC and also with like high leverage perpetual exchanges would be interesting as well.
Okay, interesting to hear. And maybe also, you know, you've witnessed the past year and everything that happened. Did any of your initial hypothesis with which you started the fund, so I'm sure you had some ideas what you want to invest in, like what technological trends you want to invest in 2 years ago. Did anything change to this point, or is it for you still the same areas that you want to allocate? Was there anything where you say, okay, with everything that happened in the past year, maybe with regulation that's happening now, certain things are not that attractive anymore?
I think there were so I did with like multiple like funds invested in like over maybe like I don't know 80 like investments. There are 2 projects I definitely remember like over the past 2 years, like, you know, having like really deeper impression, because I try my ass off to really squeeze in like the cap table and so on. So like the first one is actually a bridge. It got collapsed as well, but still like was actually really really great team. I think the team are really smart, even though the mistake was really stupid. But I think at the time like people, there were like a season where people really thinking like bridging is like very important. But in the end, I started to realize actually majority of innovation and also majority of like trading activities actually still stays with Ethereum. So actually now also like mostly focus on like Ethereum ecosystem kind of like a projects. But like I'm open to all, but I just, if you prefer something, right? Because VC has to be also focused and also selective. So I would prefer always like Ethereum. So with bridges, it's something like I now like really look less at. And the other one is actually like in the NFT like area. So that was my first investment in terms of the new fund. Like I like founded 2 years ago. That was also like, you know, great team, like, you know, with the best product team, like you can imagine from the space, and also really strong like investors and so on. They work with the top brands like Warner Brothers, you know, like other big movies and stuff. And then in the end, I think they were lacking kind of like a user experience, like expertise. And then they didn't really make the product go launch very smoothly. And people in crypto just doesn't seem like they really care such kind of like NFT they really got. They want the NFT really can make money. Like Bored Ape, for example, like there is like kind of like a hyping like around it. Like you can have interesting story like about it. You can have narratives about it. So I just think like a lot of areas that are actually really interesting to invest in, but also like the product market fit is very important. And for a fund, where we normally have a fund life, we have to really invest in the things that we think they can actually take off, and also we can exit at a time. So I guess like these two areas just not really fit within our fund life.
Yeah, super interesting. Maybe last question, because we want to leave some time for questions from the audience, from my side, and that's going to be a tough question for you. So blockchain has been around for over 10 years now. You know, smart contract, blockchain started like almost 10 years ago. Yet we've not seen like this mass adoption on a global scale yet. So, you know, the big crypto believers have been running around for the past years, always saying like, you know, we're going to change everything. And I mean, I believe that this technology is going to change a lot. But if I just look at like, you know, if you talk to your grandparents or to your friends, not everyone's using crypto on a daily basis. So is it fair to say that the technology has kind of failed on this mission up to this point? How do you assess this?
I definitely think to some degree, like it is. Like a lot of times, I think for the past years, I feel like crypto is so scammy. It's like the people I see like from Twitter, and also like, you know, some kind of like a project I see they raise so much money, have like over 1 billion FTV like on CoinMarketCap. It's like what kind of product they really delivered. And also like some of my good friends, for example, they working in kind of like a product teams in some of the top projects like listed on Binance. They were like, oh, like we actually spent so much time and money and effort in shaping the product, but in the end, there are so little users. If we use the same amount of time to like put on marketing and so on, so many users just want to come together, like users want to get an airdrop and so on. It's like definitely disappointing, right? It will just motivate people, direct people to the wrong side, to the dark side. So I think it's definitely like to some degree, I think it's just like people want to make money, people want to like scam me, people want to be speculative from like a human nature perspective. It's just like kind of like disappointing. But also like on the other hand, I think there are always, you know, people, sometimes they DM me like on LinkedIn and so on. They want to ask, oh, I have a new idea. But just the amount of like a DM, like how much they are really passionate about like such things, I think still just so encouraging. And also like sometimes you meet people in real life, they talk with you. Like earlier I was talking with some people, like they talk with you like in real life, all the struggles they have and so on. But they still have a good heart, want to build like such a good market, good like a product. I think that is just like very, very nice, because you encourage people to do something that is still good for the world. And then like last week, actually, I was like in Montenegro, and there were actually also like a very interesting like topics discussed about like longevity and also network cities. And then there were actually African like woman, like she mentioned a story where like an African boy like who were not able to pay his bills like in university, but through NFTs, he can like actually sell his paintings like overseas and pay his bill. I think as long as a technology can do good for the human, then I think it does actually already making some things like pushing it forward. So I guess still like, you know, early times, and then who knows, I still have the positivity like towards it, and then yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great closing words. Do we have time for 1 or 2 questions? I think so. Does anyone have a question for Jasmine? Raise your hand, and I'm happy to come over. No questions, no questions, no questions? Okay, then I'll have a question for you. Maybe a different type of question, something we've not talked about. You have a lot of LPs, obviously, so people that invested, they gave you money to invest into crypto startups. How has the conversation changed with those people? Like, was there any calls in the fall of 2022, like people calling you at night saying like, hey, where's our money? Is it safe? Is it on FTX? How's that experience been for you?
Yeah, I think like it's definitely like very important. I mean, LPs care really a lot. I mean, of course, like they care like the security of it, and also it comes to like, you know, because we have a crypto, we have also fiat, right? And as like the amount to be managed. And then with FTX, where a lot of funds actually put their money there, and also like Signature Bank, which is also like a popular like a bank where funds put money there. So like people definitely like our LPs definitely ask us, but we send our like you know, report like also like quarterly, so they know where our money is. And we normally have to like also like diversify them. So I guess it's something like, you know, really lucky as well. We didn't choose to do that, but also from day one we know our strength is actually primary market investments. We don't really touch the secondary investment much, just because not only because we know what we want to do, but also from our LPs mentality, they want us to be also more focused. So we really didn't get tempted to do more trading, and I think that is very important. You have to set your expectation and also know where your limit is. There are so many areas you can make money, but also it doesn't mean you can actually capture all of them. And I was earlier also talking with Julius. I just want to have actually a closing words as well. I think I just want to say I think I'm not really a famous investor yet, but I think if I can sit here, I can have my fund to be established 2 years ago, in a foreign country, I think it just shows it has possibility for everyone to achieve what they really want. And yeah, again, I'm really happy to be here.
Inspiring words from Jasmine. Yeah, Jasmine, it was great having you here. Enjoy your time in Hamburg, and please, everyone, give Jasmine a hand.
Thank you.